Hi everybody, and welcome to the very first part of the Solidity tutorials of the series of blockchain tutorials. In this part we're going to get started with the smart contracts using the Solidity language, and here we're going to use the Remix IDE as our first environment to code on the smart contracts. So here you can find the Remix IDE by just searching it on Google, and the very first link that you will get is this remix.ethereum.org, and using this link you will be able to write your own smart contracts and be able to deploy them, also interact with them without ever needing to write any other kinds of code in JavaScript or Python. Notice that if you want to write your own smart contracts and interact with them on a kind of editor like VS Code, you will need to write also the interaction codes. But here you don't need to do that because the codes are going to be automatically created for you so that you can test your own smart contracts and be able to develop it. So if you're just a Solidity developer and you're only going to focus on the smart contracts, Remix IDE is the best choice for you. Now we can get started here by creating our first contract, and I'm going to create a new file, and I can call this hello world. And notice that the name of the file is called .sol. So this is just a specialized for Solidity file. And at the beginning of every Solidity file, you need to write the license of the file, because if you don't do that, you will face a warning. Notice that you need to write the license in a comment, and in Solidity the comments are 2 forward slash, just like what we have in JavaScript. So I'm gonna type the license. You don't have to do that, you can just copy and paste. So SPDX license identifier, and then colon MIT. So there we go. Now the first thing we need to do is to import the version of Solidity, which we use Pragma, and Pragma Solidity, Solidity, and version 0.8.0. Now we're ready to write our first contract. So in order to define a contract, we use contract, and then the name of the contract here, this could be hello world. Now we open the brackets to write the smart contract inside of it. So the first thing we need to do now, we can define a variable which is a string, and then we can also determine the type of this string to be able to be used outside of the contract. So first of all, we write a string to define that this is a string, and then we have public, and notice that we've got public and private, and public is for using the variable inside of public is for using the variable inside and outside of the contract, but private is only for using inside of the contract. So here we write a string public message, and don't forget about the semicolons. Also here semicolon is necessary. So in the next line we need to define a constructor, and here inside of the constructor, actually here we need parentheses and then brackets. So inside of brackets I'm going to define the message that we want to have and show to the user. So the message is hello world. And now we need a function instead of our contract, and then the function is going to be used when we want to interact with the smart contract, and then this function is going to show to the user the kind of message that there is. So here I'm going to define a function, just so it's a bit like JavaScript, the Solidity language. So Again, for defining a function, we have function at first, and then the name of the function. So here, this function is for updating the message, and I'm going to call this updates message here. So the input, again, for the input, we define the type of the variable we have. So it's a string, and then memory type, and then we have the new message variable. That's the name of the variable, and then we have public, which means that the function itself is public, which means that we can use it outside of the contract. So here we get the message from the user and write it inside of the actually we get the new message from the user and write it and put it inside of the message variable in order to show it. So there we go. Also, don't forget about the semicolons here. Now let's save this, and you'll be able to see the compilation of this smart contract. The result will be shown here, and if you wait for some seconds, you will be able to see the results. Now the project has been compiled successfully, and here, as you can see, I've made some changes in the code. very small changes. Notice that the message here hadn't been written in a correct form, so make sure you write in a correct form, just the way you've defined it here and here. And also notice that here the before identifier we don't have underline, we have a dash, and once you make these changes, you're ready to go, and you can save this, and you will see that here we have here, as you can see, everything has been successful, compilation successful, and here on this tab, the Ethereum logo tab, you'll be able to deploy your smart contracts, and if it gets deployed successfully, you will be able to see this message right over here. And if you want to interact with the smart contracts, you can just interact here with the latest deployment. So I've deployed this one previously. I can just remove this, and here I can write any kind of message that I like. So it was hello world. I can enter hello human or hello anything, and then I can update the message, click on update, and as you can see, the interaction has been made, and I can click on the message, and as you can see, it shows hello human. I can change this. This is Solidity tutorial, and then update the message, show the message, this is Solidity tutorial. So just as easy as that, we can interact with a smart contract using Remix IDE. But notice that if you want to interact with it on VS Code or any other kind of environments, then the Remix IDE, you will need to write some other kind of code in order to interact with the smart contract. And that kind of code is usually written in TypeScript, JavaScript, or Python. So here, if you want to see where those interactions are written, here in the scripts, those deployments are written using the ethers.js or ethers.ts libraries. So in the future, you will also learn how to interact with the smart contracts using some other kinds of environments and libraries. But for now, until you learn Solidity from scratch to the most advanced levels, we'll work on Solidity, and then we'll switch to other kinds of editors. So here you might ask what a constructor is. A constructor is a special function that gets executed only once during the contract deployment. So in this example, we have the message here, which has been defined, but here the message, we haven't got any message from the user so that it gets updated, so it needs an initial value. So in order to set an initial value for this message, we'll define this constructor to only be executed once, and then afterwards we've got this function in order to be executed to get the data from the user. So when we want to interact with the smart contracts, you will see in the future that we will call this function and then enter a kind of a data in order to interact with it. And here, instead of our deployment, as you can see, we entered a kind of a message as an input, so the new message, and then updated the message, which is the name of the function. Click on this and then retrieve the message by clicking on the message, which is the kind of variable that we have defined here. So on your Mix IDE, any other kinds of variables that you define will be shown here, and you can click on it in order to see the value of that variable. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the first part of our tutorial. In the next ones, we will work with more practical kinds of smart contracts, so that you can get your hands dirty with more kinds of useful examples, and then in the end be able to write your own smart contract and then be able to interact with it, so that you can then create your own customized decentralized application.